Have you ever fallen for someone so deeply you thought with all your heart, maybe this is the one? You saw signs. You felt peace. At first, everything seemed to make sense. Your heart was sure. But now they're not with you. They slipped away, like sand through your fingers. And you're left staring at the ceiling, asking, why would Allah put them in my heart if they were never meant to stay? You prayed with tears in your eyes. You raised your hands at night when no one else was watching. You begged Allah to take away the feelings, to give you peace, to help you forget. But they stayed. Not in front of you, but inside you. Like a quiet ache. Like a memory carved into your soul. You didn't choose to feel this deeply. You didn't want to hurt. So it's easy to think something went wrong, that this was a mistake, a wasted emotion, a missed destiny. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if Allah, in His perfect wisdom, placed this person in your heart, not for marriage, but for meaning? Because not every love is meant to lead to a wedding. Some love is meant to wake you up. Some love is sent to teach you, to change you, to return you to Allah. There are moments in life when a person enters your world and they seem like everything you were waiting for, but their real purpose was never to stay. It was to reflect something deeper. Maybe they were sent to help you understand your worth. Maybe they came to open a wound so it could finally heal. Maybe they were there to show you what your heart was clinging to, instead of clinging to your Creator. Because sometimes we fall in love, not with a person, but with a feeling. The feeling of being seen, of being wanted, of feeling alive. But when that feeling fades and the person is gone, Allah is still there, watching, guiding, loving. He doesn't leave you empty. He fills the space that was once overflowing with attachment with something stronger. Faith, saber, growth, strength. And maybe that person, the one who lingers in your chest, was never meant to be your partner, but your turning point. They weren't the end of your story. They were the moment your story changed, when your heart broke open wide enough for Allah to enter deeper than ever before. So if you're hurting, if your heart feels heavy, if you keep asking why, take a breath. Allah didn't place them in your heart without wisdom. He doesn't make mistakes, and He never tests without purpose. Maybe they weren't meant for your hand, but they were meant for your heart, not to stay, but to stir something, to move something, to lead you somewhere better. You're not broken, you're not forgotten, you are being reshaped, redefined, and returned to the one who loves you most. So don't rush the healing, don't curse the connection, don't regret the love, because sometimes the people we lose are the reason we finally find Allah. 1. They woke up your heart. Before they came, everything felt flat. You woke up, did what you had to do, and went to sleep. Day after day it was the same. You weren't exactly sad, but you weren't happy either. You were just existing, breathing, but not really living. Then they appeared. Maybe it was unexpected. A small moment, a short conversation, a connection that grew without warning. And suddenly your heart felt something again. Butterflies, curiosity, that feeling you hadn't felt in so long, the warmth of being alive. It wasn't just about romance, it was about remembrance of what it means to feel joy, to feel excitement, to feel awake. They didn't complete you, but they stirred something that had fallen asleep. They reminded you that you're human, that you still can love, that your heart isn't numb. It's just been waiting for the right moment to feel again. But here's the truth. That spark wasn't always meant to last forever. It wasn't a promise of marriage. It was a message from Allah. A whisper to your soul saying, "You still have a heart, and I'm not done with it yet." And even if that person didn't stay, the part of you they awakened, that is what was meant to stay. 2. They revealed the parts of you that needed healing. At first it felt beautiful, like maybe they were the missing piece. They made you feel seen, special, chosen. But then, slowly, things began to shift. You noticed parts of yourself rising to the surface. Insecurity you thought you had outgrown, jealousy that made your heart restless, an ego that didn't want to be ignored, fear of not being enough, fear of being replaced. It wasn't just love, it was a reflection, a mirror held up to your soul. And what you saw wasn't always pretty, not because you were broken, but because there were wounds you had hidden, buried deep beneath your strength, wounds that needed light in order to heal. This person didn't complete you. They didn't come to fix you. They came to reveal you, to show you what still needed work, to help you confront what you've been avoiding. And that might hurt. But that's how growth begins. Allah didn't give you a lifelong partner in that moment. He gave you something more important, a lesson, a chance to see yourself clearly, a chance to heal what you couldn't heal alone, a chance to become the version of you that's ready for what's truly meant for your heart. 3rd, you loved them more than you loved Allah. Be honest with yourself. Did they slowly become the center of your world? Did your thoughts revolve around them morning and night, even during the quiet moments meant for Allah? Did their messages make your heart race more than the sound of the adhan? Did their presence feel more comforting than the stillness of sujood? It's easy to slip, easy to give someone a place in your heart that was never meant for them, not because you're weak, but because love can be blinding when it's wrapped in hope and dreams. But Allah, He sees what we sometimes forget. He knows when someone is pulling us away from the one who deserves our whole heart. So what does He do? He doesn't always remove them instantly. Sometimes He lets the attachment grow, just enough for it to break you, not to punish you, but to wake you up. Because Allah loves you more than anyone ever could, and He will not let your heart remain lost. So He allows the ache, He allows the disappointment, He allows the space between you and them, so He can reclaim the space between you and Him. That pain you feel, it's not the end of love, it's the beginning of returning. 4th, they distanced you from your faith. Real love, the kind that is healthy, sincere, and blessed, should never take you away from Allah. It should never make you feel like you have to choose between your faith and your feelings. It should never pull you into a place where your heart feels full, but your soul feels empty. True love is supposed to ground you, elevate you, and remind you of your values. It's supposed to help you grow into a better version of yourself, not a stranger you barely recognize. But the truth is, not everything that feels like love is love. Sometimes what we call love is just attachment. Sometimes it's loneliness, excitement, comfort, or even distraction dressed in a beautiful package. It feels intense, emotional, and consuming. And when it first arrives, it feels like a blessing. It feels like something you've waited for, prayed for, hoped for. It even feels like a sign from Allah. But slowly, so slowly you don't even notice, it begins to shift something inside you. The change doesn't feel wrong at first. In fact, it feels natural. You laugh more. You smile when your phone lights up. You think about them often, maybe even more than you think about your own peace. And because it feels good in the beginning, you don't question it. You welcome it. You open the door to your heart wider. But then, your focus starts to shift. You used to have such a strong connection with Allah. You used to guard your prayers. You used to rush to Salah when the Adhan called. You used to feel peace on your prayer mat in the quiet moments before dawn. But now, your mind is elsewhere. Your heart isn't as light. Your worship feels rushed. Your hands rise in dua, but your mind is still on them, not on your Lord. You used to have boundaries, strong ones. You used to protect your heart, your dignity, your modesty, your time, your soul. But now, you're slowly crossing the lines you once promised yourself you never would. Conversations that stretch past what's halal. Thoughts that make you feel distant from Allah. Meetings, messages, emotions that once felt forbidden but now feel familiar. And every time you go a little further, a little deeper, your heart tries to whisper, "This doesn't feel right." But you silence that voice. You say, "It's love. This is different. Allah knows what's in my heart." And yes, He does. But He also knows when something is pulling you further from Him. He sees when the connection you thought was a gift is actually leading you away from the giver. You begin to feel heavy, not because of what's happening on the outside, but because of what's shifting on the inside. Guilt creeps in, not just for what you're doing, but for how distant you feel from Allah. You remember what it felt like to be spiritually strong, to have clarity, to feel close to your Lord. And now, you feel lost, confused, constantly anxious. You start to ask yourself, if this is real love, why does it feel like I'm drifting away from the best parts of myself? Why do I feel further from peace instead of closer to it? Because love isn't supposed to cost you your faith. It's not supposed to create a wall between you and Allah. And when it does, it's no longer love. It's a test that feels sweet on the surface, but slowly poisons you within. A test that makes you crave their approval more than Allah's pleasure. A test that blinds you with emotions so you don't see the direction you're headed. And in His mercy, Allah steps in. He doesn't always send a loud warning. Sometimes He lets the connection start to fall apart. You face tension, miscommunication, silence. Doors that once felt wide open begin to close. You try harder, you cling, you cry, but nothing works. And you wonder, why is Allah taking this from me? But maybe He's not taking anything from you. Maybe He's freeing you. Because Allah knows when something is becoming a barrier, and He loves you too much to let you stay chained to something that's pulling you away from Him. So He removes it, through pain, through loss, through unanswered prayers. Not to punish you, not to break you, but to rescue you from going further down a path that was never written for your soul. That heartbreak you felt, it wasn't cruelty. It was protection, that ending you didn't expect. It was an answer to a dua you forgot you made. The one where you asked Allah to keep you close to Him. The one where you begged for peace, even if it meant sacrifice. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are not the ones who hurt us intentionally. They're the ones who slowly distract us. The ones we grow attached to at the cost of our faith. And sometimes, the biggest blessings in life come wrapped in loss. In a goodbye that didn't make sense at the time. But later, when your heart finally begins to heal, you start to see clearly. You return to the person you used to be. Or better, you return to a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, more connected to Allah than you ever were before. And that return, that reconnection, that rediscovery of peace, is worth more than anything you thought you lost. Because in the end, what is taken from you is never greater than what Allah wants to give you. And when you're finally ready to let go of what pulled you away from Him, you make space for what draws you closer. And in that space, you'll find something better than love. You'll find Allah, and He will be enough. 5. They were sent for a season, not a lifetime. Some people walk into your life without warning. There's no sign, no big moment, just a conversation, a glance, a kind word, something simple, and yet somehow their presence reaches parts of you that even you forgot existed. It's not loud, it's not planned, but it's real. And suddenly, your heart feels awake. You smile more. You feel like you've known them longer than you actually have, and for the first time in a long time, you feel understood. You feel connected. It feels like Allah sent them exactly when you needed someone. And maybe He did. That's why it's so easy to believe that someone who made your soul come alive must be permanent. How could something so strong, so real, so deeply felt, not be written into your forever? But not everything meaningful is meant to last forever. Not everyone who touches your heart is meant to stay in it. Some people are written into your story for a season, not a lifetime. And the beauty of it is, that season is exactly what you needed. Not more, not less. They came to show you something, to remind you of something, to help you unlock a part of yourself you couldn't reach alone. Maybe they came to soften your heart after it was hardened by pain. Maybe they came to push you to confront emotions you buried. Maybe they were the bridge between the old you and the one you were meant to become. Sometimes Allah sends someone into your life not to stay, but to wake you up, to give you a glimpse of something higher, deeper, more meaningful, even if that glimpse only lasts a short time. And when they leave, it hurts. It feels like something was taken too soon, like the chapter ended before it reached the conclusion you had imagined. You sit in that pain, trying to figure out what went wrong. You question yourself. You question the timing. You question Allah's wisdom, even if you're too afraid to admit it. You think, if they mattered so much, why weren't they meant to stay? But the truth is, some of the most life-changing moments don't last a lifetime. Some of the most important people are only meant to be passing guides, not permanent fixtures. They were never your destination. They were a signpost. They were never your home. They were the door that led you to your next stage, and their role wasn't to walk beside you forever, but to set something in motion inside you. A shift, a realization, a transformation. And this isn't a punishment. It's not a curse. It's mercy. Even the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, felt the weight of separation. He loved and he lost. He cried. He grieved. He said goodbye to people who were dear to his heart. He wasn't spared from heartbreak, not because Allah didn't love him, but because pain has purpose, because loss has wisdom, because goodbyes sometimes carry more meaning than hellos. And if he, the most beloved of all creation, was allowed to feel such loss and still move forward with faith and strength, then your heartbreak doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean something went wrong. It simply means your heart was used as a space for growth. You are not broken because they left. You are not less worthy because it didn't last. You are not forgotten because your story didn't end with them. You are exactly where you are meant to be. This person, this connection, was part of your divine story, and that story is still unfolding. They were one chapter in a much bigger book, a chapter that was necessary to write the next one. And maybe when you look back years from now, you'll realize they weren't the ending. They were the middle, the turning point, The moment you started to become the person you were always meant to be, they were sent to teach you, to challenge you, to love you just long enough to remind you what love is, and maybe more importantly, what it is not. And when their chapter closed, it didn't mean the story was over. It simply meant Allah, the author of all things, was preparing the next part of your journey, with even more care, more clarity, and more purpose. Because the story belongs to Him, and He never writes anything without wisdom. 6. They led you back to Allah. Think back to the nights when you were most alone, not physically, but emotionally. The ones where your body felt heavy, your thoughts wouldn't stop, and your chest ached in ways you couldn't explain. The kind of nights where the world outside was silent, but inside you were breaking. You stared at your phone, hoping for a message that never came. You scrolled through memories trying to make sense of what happened. You asked yourself over and over again, why does it hurt this much? Why did they come into my life if they were never meant to stay? And when no one else could see your pain, Allah did. He saw the tears you hid. He heard the cries you whispered into your pillow. He knew what your heart couldn't say out loud. And in those moments, you turned to Him, not because someone told you to, not because it was expected, but because there was nowhere else left to turn. It wasn't the type of dua you had made before. It wasn't about success or wealth or anything worldly. It was raw. It was real. It was you saying, Ya Allah, I can't carry this anymore. Please help me. Those moments, those broken, breathless prayers, were some of the purest connections you ever had with your Creator. Not because you were strong, but because you were completely vulnerable. You didn't come to Him with a checklist of requests. You came with a heart in pieces, asking for one thing, peace. And isn't it amazing that the love you thought was sent to complete you actually led you to the one who already had? You may not have realized it at the time, but that heartbreak became a turning point. That pain became your push back to Allah. The very person who broke you was the reason you finally surrendered. You looked in the mirror and said, I can't fix this alone. And in that moment, you realized you were never meant to. They didn't lead you to a wedding. They didn't hold your hand through life, but they led you to your knees. They led you to sujood. They led you to a version of yourself that prayed with depth, that called out with sincerity, that felt faith, not just as a practice, but as a lifeline. And sometimes, that kind of transformation is far more valuable than a relationship. You see, some people enter your life not to stay, but to shake you awake, to stir what's been asleep, to show you just how far your heart had wandered from its true home. They come into your life like a beautiful storm, leaving behind broken branches, but also clean air, fresh ground, a new space for healing. Their absence hurts, but somehow your soul feels closer to Allah than it ever did when they were near. Because sometimes we don't truly return to Him until there's nothing left to hold on to but Him. And that return, it's the real love story. The kind of love that doesn't come with a ring, but with redemption. Not a promise from another person, but a reminder from your Creator. So no matter how much it hurt, if their leaving led you to Allah, then their presence was never a mistake. It was part of your divine path, a necessary detour that brought you home. Maybe they weren't your forever, but they were the reason you finally reached out to the one who is. And that kind of love, the kind that cracks you open just so Allah can fill you with Himself, is a mercy wrapped in heartache, a gift disguised as a goodbye, and a spiritual awakening you never knew you needed. 7. When you finally let go, you found peace. Letting go is not something the heart is ever truly ready for. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. It doesn't matter how much they changed or how badly things ended, because the heart doesn't let go based on logic. It holds on based on memory. You hold on because of the way they made you feel in the beginning, not at the end. You hold on to that first smile, that spark that lit something inside you after so long, the way they made you laugh, the way you felt understood, the way you started to imagine a future. You didn't just fall for them. You fell for the version of life that seemed possible when they were in it. And that's why letting go feels like pulling yourself out of a dream, one that you didn't want to wake up from. Even when the reality no longer matched the fantasy, even when the communication faded, when the texts slowed down, when your values started to feel like it depended on their attention, you still stayed. Not because it felt right anymore, but because your heart was hoping it could go back to when it did. You clung to the beginning, even while the middle was unraveling and the end was quietly arriving. Letting go wasn't just losing a person. It was losing the version of you who believed this would last. It was watching a piece of your hope fade. A part of your identity that started to form around them suddenly had no place to stand. And it's painful. It feels like your chest is holding something it can't release. Like every breath is heavier than the one before. But here's the thing, no one talks about enough. Healing doesn't always arrive with a loud breakthrough. Sometimes it tiptoes in, quietly, gently, and you don't even realize it at first. One day you wake up, and you don't feel that tightness in your chest. You're not waiting for a message. You're not checking their page. You're not wondering what they're doing. You just exist. Your heart still remembers, but it no longer aches. The story still matters, but it no longer defines you. You begin to walk differently, not because you're trying to show you're fine, but because you actually are. And then something happens. You raise your hands in dua, and for the first time, you don't ask for them to return. You don't ask for the story to change. You ask for peace, for growth, for whatever Allah knows is better for you. And you mean it. That moment, when your heart wants Allah more than it wants a person, that's not just healing, that's transformation. It's not that you don't care anymore. It's that you care more about trusting Allah than chasing something He has taken away. And the peace that starts to bloom inside you, that quiet, steady calm, that's not the result of getting over it. It's not just time doing its work. It's Allah showing you the wisdom behind the pain. It's Him saying, "You trusted me with your tears. Now trust me with your future. You didn't lose. You were led away from something so I could bring you closer to me." Because what you let go of was never greater than what Allah is preparing you for. And that something better isn't always another person. Sometimes it's a version of you that's finally at peace alone. A version of you that no longer depends on someone else to feel worthy. A version of you that doesn't chase love. Because you've become it. Not the romantic kind, but the divine kind. The kind of love that starts with loving Allah and ends with feeling whole, even when no one else is standing beside you. Letting go didn't destroy you. It refined you. It stripped away the illusions and showed you how strong your heart actually is. How much deeper your faith could be. How much lighter your soul could feel once you stopped forcing what was never meant to stay. So when you finally released it, not in bitterness, but in trust, that wasn't the end. That was the beginning. The beginning of becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone softer, someone who carries pain with grace and peace with purpose. And the peace you feel now, that isn't emptiness, it's completion, not because you got what you wanted, but because you finally found what you needed. You found Allah, you found yourself, and you found a kind of love that never fades, never leaves, never breaks. His. So if you're still sitting there, quiet but overwhelmed, still holding your breath between maybe and what if, still caught in the ache of unanswered questions, why did Allah put this person in my heart if they were never meant to stay? Maybe now, slowly, quietly, through your pain and reflection, you're starting to see the truth you couldn't see before. Maybe it was never about a relationship. Maybe it was never meant to become a marriage. Maybe it was never about rings or shared plans or growing old together. Maybe it was about you, your journey, your growth, your return. Maybe they weren't the partner you were supposed to walk through life with, but the wake-up call that stopped you in your tracks and forced you to look inside. They didn't come to complete you. They came to reveal you, to show you what your heart was made of, to test what your soul was holding on to uncover wounds you had buried and dreams you had paused. They came to awaken what was asleep, not just your desire for love, but your connection to your Creator, your dependence on the only one who never walks away, the only one who never leaves a heart unanswered. They stirred your emotions, yes, but they also stirred your need for Allah. They brought up your insecurities, your fears, your longing, not to break you, but to show you what still needed healing. Maybe their love wasn't meant to stay, because their role wasn't to build a future with you. It was to push you back to the one who holds your future. Some people are not meant to be the destination. They are the spark, the disruption, the divine interruption, the moment everything shifted, so your soul could rise from its sleep. And maybe that's the most important kind of love, the kind that doesn't stay long, but stays forever in the mark it leaves. Because it didn't end in a wedding, it ended in awakening. They made you realize that the kind of peace you were chasing can't be found in human hands, that the kind of safety you longed for was never in someone's attention, but in Allah's protection. They didn't steal your love. They helped you realize where it truly belongs. They didn't take your peace. They exposed how unstable it was without Allah at the center. They didn't ruin your life. They revealed what was missing from it all along. So if you're still hurting, still asking, still wondering if your love was wasted, it wasn't. Because nothing that brings you closer to Allah is ever wasted. Nothing that makes you fall into sujood crying, that makes your du'as deeper, that brings your hands back up in surrender, is meaningless. That ache you feel in your chest, that's not emptiness, that's depth. That's proof that you loved, that you felt, that your heart is capable of something real. But now, it's time to feel something greater, not another person, but Allah. The peace you're searching for is not on someone else's tongue. It's in His remembrance. It's in the stillness of prayer. It's in the safety of knowing that what's meant for you will never need to be chased. And what's not meant for you can never bring you lasting peace. So if this message met you in a moment of silence, if it reached the place in you that still aches, let it be a reminder you're not alone. Your heartbreak is not meaningless. Your return to Allah is your reward. And if your heart is still holding on, still hoping, still questioning, still healing, let it hold on to this instead. Healing begins with understanding, peace begins with surrender, and love, true, lasting, eternal love, begins and ends with Allah. May He soften your heart, not just to release what wasn't yours, but to receive what always was, His mercy, His love, His plan. May He fill your heart with light that no heartbreak can dim, with clarity that outshines confusion, with a purpose that makes the pain make sense. And may He gift you a kind of love that doesn't confuse you, doesn't exhaust you, doesn't lead you away from Him, but brings you back. A love that doesn't fade, doesn't leave, doesn't break. His. What if I told you the person you're falling for is not your soulmate, but your biggest test from Allah? What if the connection you feel isn't a blessing, but a trial wrapped in emotion, sent to test your patience, your faith, and your heart's direction? We often chase feelings thinking they're signs, but not every strong emotion is a divine message. Sometimes it's a mirror showing you what you're attached to more than your Creator. Are you confusing a test with true love? Because when Allah loves you, He doesn't always give you what you want. He gives you what you need to grow. Before you give your heart away, ask yourself, is this love bringing me closer to Allah or pulling me further away? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might save your heart and your akhirah. Sign 1. Your connection distracts you from Allah. Think about it. Every time you think of this person, do you find yourself closer to Allah or further away? If your feelings lead you to forget salah, delay your dua, or skip acts of worship just to stay connected to them, that's a big warning sign. True love from Allah brings you closer to Him. It makes you want to pray more, seek guidance, and protect your faith. But if your heart is drawing you further from your Creator, this person may just be a test to see where your priorities lie. Sign 2. They pull you toward haram without you realizing it. When a relationship is from Allah, it keeps you grounded in your values. If this person leads you to break your values or compromises your faith, even in small ways, then it's a sign this isn't the one for you. Love from Allah respects boundaries, keeps you humble, and reminds you to protect your dignity. If you find yourself making excuses for actions that go against your faith, ask yourself, is this love or is this temptation from your nafs? Remember, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us, when something feels wrong in your heart, it is likely wrong in your faith too. Sign 3. Your heart is in constant conflict. When you're with someone, do you feel calm and content, or is there a constant unease deep within you? True peace comes from knowing that what you're doing aligns with your faith and values. But when you're involved with someone who isn't meant for you, the feeling of peace slips away, leaving you within a conflict. This conflict isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it shows up as a nagging feeling in the back of your mind, like something isn't quite right. You might find yourself questioning whether your actions, thoughts, or feelings are in line with what Allah wants for you. Are you being true to your beliefs, or are you compromising because of your emotions? You may find yourself justifying things that, deep down, you know aren't right, thinking, it's not that bad, or I'll fix this later. But these justifications are signs that your heart is not at ease. When a relationship is truly from Allah, it helps you grow spiritually. It brings you closer to your purpose, and it supports your connection with Allah. You feel a sense of peace, knowing that you're making choices that honor both your faith and your values. However, when a relationship is a test, it makes you question these very things. The constant inner turmoil you feel is a sign that this relationship might be pulling you away from your true path. If you're always second-guessing whether you're doing the right thing or feeling like your heart is in constant conflict, it's a signal that the relationship isn't aligned with your true purpose. The more you ignore this feeling, the harder it becomes to find peace, and the further you move from the life you're meant to live. It's important to listen to this inner conflict because deep down, it's telling you that something is not right. Peace comes when you trust Allah, follow His guidance, and make choices that align with His will. If you're feeling torn, take a moment to step back and reflect. Trust that the peace you're seeking comes from Him, not from chasing a relationship that might not be meant for you. Sign 4. You start justifying your actions. When you feel strongly for someone, it's easy to start making excuses for actions that go against your beliefs. At first, these excuses might seem harmless. You tell yourself, "It's okay, I'm doing this for love," or "I can always ask for forgiveness later." These justifications may feel comforting in the moment, especially when you're emotionally invested, but deep down, you know that something isn't right. Real love, the kind that Allah intends for us, is built on sincerity, respect for your faith, and a desire to honor what is good and pure. It doesn't push you into compromising your values or acting in ways that you know are wrong. Yet, when your heart becomes attached to someone who isn't meant for you, you begin to overlook the red flags. You start to tell yourself that what you're doing isn't that bad. Everyone does this, you think, or it's just this one time, and then I'll be better. But these justifications are a sign that you are rationalizing behavior that you know deep down is not in line with your true beliefs. You might tell yourself that your actions don't matter because your feelings are so strong. You may believe that love is enough to make everything else okay. But love, true love, is not about turning a blind eye to the wrong. It's not about convincing yourself that you can fix it later. True love uplifts you. It doesn't drag you down into a place of guilt, confusion, or regret. When you truly love someone, you respect yourself, your faith, and your boundaries. True love leads you closer to Allah, not further away from Him. But when you're justifying your actions, you are not growing spiritually. You are not becoming a better person. Instead, you're allowing yourself to be led by temporary emotions rather than the values that matter most. Love that comes from Allah is pure and makes you more conscious of your relationship with Him. It strengthens your connection to Allah and purifies your heart, making you strive to be the best version of yourself. It doesn't make you lose sight of what's important. Instead, it reinforces the values of respect, patience, and faithfulness. When you find yourself justifying things that go against your core beliefs, it's a wake-up call. It's telling you that something is off. You are being pulled away from your true purpose, and you are starting to compromise on things that should never be compromised. True love never asks you to sacrifice your morals or your faith. It encourages you to stay true to your values, even in moments of temptation. If you're feeling the need to justify your actions repeatedly, it's a sign that you might be ignoring what your heart knows is right. And that's a dangerous path to follow, because it leads you away from the very things that give your life meaning and purpose. If the love you feel is leading you to make excuses for actions that are against your faith, it's time to pause and reflect. Love should never make you compromise your relationship with Allah. Instead, it should bring you closer to Him, making you more aware of your duties and encouraging you to stay on the right path. When you stop justifying and start aligning your actions with your faith, that's when you'll know that the love you're experiencing is truly from Allah. Sign 5. Your relationship is moving faster than your faith can keep up. When you're in a relationship that feels like it's moving too fast, it can be exciting at first. You might feel like everything is falling into place perfectly, like you're on the right track. But if you take a moment to listen closely to your heart, you may feel something else, a deep, quiet voice telling you to slow down. This is often the first sign that things might not be as they seem. The relationship may be moving too quickly, but you may not yet be spiritually ready to keep up with it. Our faith teaches us that Allah's timing is always perfect. He knows when we are ready for something, whether it's a test, a blessing, or even a relationship. He doesn't rush things. If the relationship is moving forward faster than you can spiritually process, it might be a sign that this isn't the right moment. You may find yourself caught up in emotions, eager to move forward, but your heart isn't in the right place yet. And that's okay. Allah knows that we need time to grow, heal, and align our hearts with Him before anything else. If you feel like you're losing control or being swept away by the relationship, it's important to step back and ask yourself why everything seems to be speeding up. Relationships require time to understand each other, to learn about each other's values, and to make sure that you both align with the same goals. But when you rush through the process, you skip over critical steps of spiritual growth, reflection, and prayer that should be part of the journey. Spiritual growth should always come first, because it helps you build the foundation for a healthy, lasting relationship. Without it, you might find yourself rushing into a commitment or decision without fully understanding the implications it has on your relationship with Allah. Allah doesn't put us in situations until we are truly ready for them. Think about how many times we experience delays or moments of waiting in our lives. These pauses are not always signs of rejection, but rather opportunities for reflection, for growth, and for drawing closer to Him. When your relationship is moving faster than your ability to grow spiritually, it's a clear warning that you're not taking the time to reflect and build a solid foundation. You might feel a sense of urgency, but that urgency is often driven by your emotions, not by your faith. If you're rushing through the stages of a relationship, whether it's becoming too attached too quickly, making commitments without deep spiritual reflection, or bypassing important conversations about faith and values, then you are allowing the relationship to pull you forward faster than your heart and faith can handle. Relationships take time, just like the development of our relationship with Allah takes time. Allah allows us to grow and heal at His pace, and He doesn't expect us to have everything figured out instantly. He gives us the space to process, reflect, and ask for His guidance at every step. The speed at which a relationship moves is not as important as the depth of the connection, the alignment of your faith, and the clarity of your intentions. When things are rushed, it's easy to miss red flags, overlook important issues, or make decisions based on emotions rather than clear spiritual understanding. Moving too quickly can lead to mistakes, confusion, and heartache, because we have not given ourselves the time to understand what Allah truly wants for us. A relationship that progresses at the right pace will allow you both to grow spiritually together, build a stronger connection, and strengthen your relationship with Allah. If your relationship feels like it's rushing forward, and something inside you tells you to slow down, trust that inner voice. Allah doesn't rush things. He allows us time to grow, to build a connection with Him, and to align our hearts with His will. If you feel like your faith is being left behind as you focus more on the relationship, it's time to take a step back and reassess. Seek Allah's guidance through dua, trust His timing, and know that when the time is right, everything will fall into place. He knows what is best for you, and He will guide you to what is good for your heart, your soul, and your future. Sign 6. You're constantly praying for this person, but your heart doesn't find peace. When you care deeply for someone, it's only natural to want the best for them, and that often leads to prayer. You may find yourself asking Allah to bless them, guide them, and keep them safe. But if you pause and reflect, you might notice something important. After praying for them, do you feel peace in your heart? Or do you feel a sense of restlessness, uncertainty, and anxiety that won't go away? It's crucial to understand that true love, the kind that comes from Allah, brings peace and contentment, not worry. When something is right, it doesn't cause your heart to be filled with confusion or unease. If you find yourself praying constantly for this person, but your heart remains unsettled, that's a sign that you might be pursuing something that isn't meant for you. It's one thing to care for someone and ask for Allah's blessings upon them, but it's another to feel like you're carrying a burden every time you pray for them. True love doesn't make you anxious. It doesn't leave you in a state of confusion, wondering if your feelings are misplaced, or if this person is truly the right one for you. Consider this. When you pray, you should feel a sense of peace in your heart, because you are trusting Allah with what's most important to you. But if, after each prayer, you feel increasingly restless and uncertain, it may be a sign that your heart is trying to hold on to something that Allah has not decreed for you. Your heart might be struggling to accept that what you want may not be in line with what Allah wants for you. This internal conflict can create a feeling of discomfort, because deep down, you are not aligning your desires with His will. We often pray for what we think we need or want, but when we place our trust in Allah, He will guide us toward what is best for us, whether it aligns with our immediate desires or not. If you are constantly praying for someone but don't feel peace, it's time to take a step back and ask yourself, am I truly surrendering this to Allah? Do I trust that He knows what's best for me? Sometimes the restlessness in your heart is a sign that you are not fully letting go. You might be holding on to the idea of this person or this relationship, even if deep down you know that it's not right for you. Your heart might be telling you that there's something more to be learned or gained from the situation, but that peace and contentment are missing because you haven't fully trusted Allah's plan for you. True peace comes when you release your grip on things that are not meant for you and place your full trust in Allah. When you trust Allah, you trust that He will guide you toward the path that brings you closer to Him, even if it's not the path you envisioned. That sense of surrender, of letting go, is what brings true peace. It's a peace that comes from knowing that whatever happens, you are in the hands of the one who knows what is best for you. When you're constantly praying for someone, but still feel anxiety, it could be because you are too focused on the outcome. You might be thinking too much about whether they're the one for you, about whether this relationship will work out. But Allah's plan is always better than our own, and sometimes the answer to our prayers might not be what we expect. The peace comes when you realize that the outcome is not for you to control. It's for Allah to decide. If after praying you feel peace in your heart, knowing that Allah is in control and that whatever happens is His will, then you can rest assured that you are on the right path. But if, on the other hand, you feel increasingly anxious and uncertain, it might be time to reconsider your feelings. Let go of the attachment and trust that Allah will lead you to what is best for you, even if it's not what you wanted or expected. Trusting Allah doesn't mean you stop caring for this person, but it means accepting that you may not be the one who can control the outcome. True peace comes when you trust Allah with your heart, your desires, and your prayers. Let go and leave it in His hands. He knows what's best for you, and that knowledge brings comfort to your soul, allowing you to find peace regardless of the outcome. Sign 7. You feel like you're losing yourself. When you're in a relationship that aligns with Allah's guidance, you feel a sense of empowerment. You feel more confident in your faith and more in tune with your purpose in life. Every decision, every step you take feels like it's in harmony with what Allah has planned for you. Your relationship strengthens your values, and it leads you toward becoming the best version of yourself. Someone who is closer to Allah, more understanding, more patient, and more compassionate. But when you're in a relationship that isn't right for you, you may start to feel the opposite. You may begin to feel like you're losing yourself. The person you care about might start pulling you away from your values, making you question who you are and what you stand for. Your actions might begin to change, and you may find yourself making compromises, justifying behaviors, or allowing things to happen that you know aren't aligned with your faith. You start to feel distant from your true self, and that's when the alarm bells should start ringing. Love from Allah doesn't make you lose yourself. It brings you closer to your true essence, the person Allah created you to be. But when the relationship starts to feel like it's chipping away at your values, your beliefs, or your connection with Allah, you need to stop and reassess. If you're finding yourself questioning who you are, whether you're acting in alignment with your faith, or if your priorities are shifting away from what's truly important, it's time to step back and reflect. At the heart of this feeling of losing yourself is often a deeper internal conflict. You may feel like you have to choose between your faith and the relationship, and when that happens, it's a clear sign that the relationship isn't meant to be. True love, the kind that Allah blesses us with, should never require us to sacrifice our connection with Him. In fact, a loving relationship that is built on faith should strengthen your bond with Allah, not weaken it. It should encourage you to pray more, seek His guidance more, and live your life in a way that brings you closer to Him. If, however, this relationship is pulling you away from Allah, making you forget your duties, or pushing you into situations that make you uncomfortable with your values, then that relationship is not a blessing. It may feel good in the moment, and you may feel emotionally attached, but deep down, you know that something is off. This is a distraction, not the love you are meant to have. The more you get caught up in it, the more you risk losing sight of what truly matters: your faith, your relationship with Allah, and your sense of purpose. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave us a clear message when he said, "If you ask Allah for guidance, He will never leave you to wander." If you feel lost in this relationship, if you feel like your heart is wandering away from Allah, then it's time to turn to Him. Seek His guidance, make dua, and ask for clarity. Allah is always there to guide us back to the right path. If you're feeling distant from your true self, your heart is restless, and you're questioning your purpose, take this as a sign that you need to reconnect with your faith and trust in Allah's plan for you. It's easy to get swept up in a relationship, especially if emotions are involved. You may tell yourself that the feelings are too strong to ignore, that this person must be the one. But the reality is that the relationship that Allah has planned for you will never cause you to lose sight of what's most important. It will never cause you to forget who you are at your core or lead you to compromise your values. When you're in the right relationship, you don't feel lost. You feel grounded, secure in your faith, and clear about your purpose. But when you're not in the right relationship, you begin to feel scattered and uncertain. Your priorities may shift, your focus may waver, and you might even start to make decisions that you never would have before, simply because you're trying to hold on to the relationship. But remember, you don't need to lose yourself in order to keep someone in your life. If you're feeling like you're drifting away from who you truly are, seek guidance from Allah. Ask Him to guide you, to protect your heart from distractions, and to help you stay true to the person He created you to be. Trust that Allah knows what's best for you, even if it doesn't align with your immediate desires. The peace and clarity you're searching for will come when you stop trying to control the outcome and let Allah's guidance lead you. If something is meant for you, it will not cause you to lose yourself. Allah's blessings don't require you to sacrifice your soul. They only strengthen it. Trust that the love Allah has for you is far greater than any attachment or emotional desire you might have for someone else. And if you feel like you're losing yourself in the process, it's time to turn back to Him. Only with His guidance can you find your true path, and only by reconnecting with Allah will you regain the clarity you need to make the right decisions for your heart and your future. If you're facing one or more of these signs, don't panic. It's not too late to turn back. Relationships are not always what they seem, and sometimes the person you feel so drawn to may not be your soulmate. They may simply be a test, a challenge from Allah to help you grow in your faith, character, and understanding of what truly matters in life. And just like any test, it's an opportunity for growth, learning, and spiritual reflection. The beauty of a test is that it gives us the chance to improve, to become better versions of ourselves. When you face a test from Allah, it doesn't mean that you failed or that you're lost. In fact, it's a chance for you to reevaluate your path, refine your intentions, and strengthen your relationship with Allah. It's a reminder that the things that are meant for you will not come with confusion, uncertainty, or spiritual unrest. If a relationship is leading you to compromise your values, question your faith, or feel lost and unsettled, that's a sign that it's not aligning with what's best for you. But this doesn't mean you are trapped in a situation you can't get out of. Instead of rushing forward, take a moment to pause and reflect. Reflect on your feelings, on what's happening in your heart. Ask yourself, are you truly growing spiritually in this relationship, or are you being pulled further away from Allah? Are your actions and decisions aligning with your faith, or are they justifying things that make you uncomfortable deep inside? These are the questions that will guide you toward clarity. In times like these, don't be afraid to ask Allah for guidance. Allah is always ready to help you find clarity when you seek it. He knows your heart, your struggles, your doubts, and He will guide you toward what is best for you. Trust in His wisdom and His timing, because Allah never abandons those who sincerely seek His guidance. If this relationship is not right for you, He will guide you away from it. But first, you must be willing to ask for His help and trust that He has a better plan for you. Your true soulmate is not the one who makes you question your faith or brings you into confusion and conflict. Your true soulmate will be someone who brings you closer to Allah, someone who inspires you to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. They will encourage you to be a better version of yourself, to align with your values, and to build a life that honors Allah. If someone is pulling you away from your essence, your faith, and your purpose in life, they may not be the person meant for you. True love in the eyes of Allah is built on respect, trust, mutual growth, and alignment with your faith. Before making any decisions about the relationship, take the time to truly reflect on your feelings. Ask yourself if this relationship is helping you grow spiritually, or if it's leading you to compromise who you are at your core. Be patient with yourself. Sometimes we feel pressure to make quick decisions, but Allah's plans are never rushed. The right relationship will align with your faith, your values, and your purpose in life. It will not cause confusion, anxiety, or compromise. If you're feeling any of these things, it's important to take a step back and assess if this relationship is in line with your true path. It's never too late to turn back to Allah and ask for His help. The path toward healing, clarity, and peace might seem unclear at first, but Allah's guidance is always available to those who seek it. The moment you open your heart to Him, He will light the way for you. Even if you feel lost or uncertain, trust that Allah knows what's best for you. Sometimes the biggest blessing comes when we surrender our fears and trust in His plan. You are never alone in this journey. Allah is with you every step of the way. If this message resonated with you, please comment below and share your thoughts. Let's support each other on this journey of faith. We are all going through similar struggles and questions, and it helps to know that we're not alone. If you found clarity in this message, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free, and it helps spread this guidance to others who might be struggling with the same doubts and questions. May Allah protect your heart, your faith, and guide you to what's best for you in this life and the next. May He ease your burdens, answer your prayers, and bring you closer to Him with every step you take. Trust in His timing, His wisdom, and His love for you. Ameen. You think about them, you pray about them, but then the doubt creeps in. What if this is just my nafs? What if I'm chasing something that was never meant for me? Have you ever felt drawn to someone, but deep down wondered, is this from Allah, or is it just my own desires? It's a question many hearts whisper in silence. So today, let's talk about 5 clear signs your feelings are a gift, not a test. 1. You feel closer to Allah, not farther. When your heart leans toward someone, but instead of forgetting Allah, you remember Him more, that's a sign. You start praying on time. You make more dua. You guard your eyes. Why? Because this feeling doesn't pull you down. It lifts your soul, and love that leads you back to your Creator isn't from your nafs. 2. You respect them more than you desire them. Desire can be loud, but respect is quiet and powerful. If you look at them and your first thought isn't physical, but rather, Subhanallah, this person reminds me of Jannah, then pause. That's not just attraction. That's a heart that sees with light, not lust. 3. You're willing to wait. When your desire is just from your nafs, that lower part of yourself that craves instant pleasure, it doesn't care about the bigger picture. It wants what's exciting, what's easy, what makes the heart race, even if it leaves the soul restless. It wants to feel good now, even if it means crossing lines, breaking trust, or ignoring what Allah says is best. But when your feelings come from Allah, there's a stillness in your heart, even when it's full of longing. Yes, you're drawn to this person. Yes, you care. But your love doesn't come with panic or pressure. It comes with peace. You don't feel the need to rush, to force, or to chase, because deep down, you know something. What's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. So you begin to wait, not out of fear, but out of faith. You stop looking for ways to get their attention. You stop trying to make things happen behind closed doors. You stop thinking, how can I get them to choose me? Instead, your heart whispers, How can I choose what pleases Allah right now? And that shift, that surrender, that quiet patience isn't weakness. It's a sign of maturity. It's a sign your love is rooted in something deeper than emotion. It's rooted in obedience. You're not waiting because you have no other choice. You're waiting because you've made a conscious choice to honor the process, to protect the purity, to trust the one who sees what's hidden in your heart and theirs. You wait with intention. You wait with dua. You wait with dignity. And it's not easy. There are nights where your chest feels heavy, mornings where your heart wonders, will this ever happen? But you remind yourself, even in this delay, Allah is working. He's preparing you. He's preparing them. He's preparing something better than what you're imagining. Because anything that is rushed often breaks. But what's built with patience lasts. And while your nafs tells you, take the shortcut, your soul replies, I'd rather take the scenic route if it leads to Jannah. Because love that skips steps might be exciting, but love that honors Allah, that's eternal. So you hold yourself back, not out of coldness, but out of care. You protect your peace. You protect your prayers. You protect them from becoming a test when you want them to be a blessing. And in that choice, in that self-control, in that quiet devotion, you shine. Because you're no longer led by desperation. You're led by discipline. And your waiting becomes worship. A daily act of saying, Ya Allah, I trust you more than I trust my timeline. And that is one of the clearest signs your desire has been purified by faith and not polluted by ego. Because you don't just want love. You want love that's written, blessed and protected by the one who created your heart in the first place. And that love, that kind of love, is always worth waiting for. 4. You're more focused on becoming, not just getting. When desire comes from your ego, from the nafs, everything becomes about getting their attention, getting their affection, getting them to notice you, want you, choose you. And in that chase, you start to forget why you even want them in the first place. It becomes about proving something to them, to yourself, to the world. Your thoughts become noisy, filled with questions that don't bring peace. Should I message them again? Should I change how I look? What do I need to say or do to make them like me back? And slowly, without even realizing it, your heart turns into a performance. Your identity becomes a mask. Your self-worth starts depending on how someone else sees you, or if they even see you at all. But when your desire is placed in your heart by Allah, the energy shifts. Suddenly, it's not about chasing them. It's about returning to you, the real you, the version of you that Allah created, full of potential, full of light, full of purpose. You stop asking, how can I be what they want? And you start asking, how can I become what Allah wants me to be? Because maybe this love, this longing, isn't here just to unite you with someone else. Maybe it's here to unite you with the best version of yourself, the version that prays with focus, that speaks with kindness, that moves with humility, that loves with boundaries, that lives with faith. So you start working, not on impressing them, but on improving yourself, not for applause, not for attention, but for Allah. You check your character, you clean your heart, you ask hard questions like, do I really know who I am without them? Would I be ready for marriage, or just craving connection? Am I asking for a good spouse while neglecting becoming one? And when that shift happens, everything becomes more meaningful. You fix your relationship with the Qur'an. You make dua, not just to be loved, but to be guided. You deal with your past wounds. You stop blaming others and start taking accountability. You start forgiving, even yourself. And this transformation, this inner work, this deep surrender to growth, it changes how you see love entirely. You're no longer just waiting for them to come. You're allowing Allah to prepare you for what's to come. Because the truth is, you can't build a pure love on a broken foundation. And sometimes Allah delays what you want, not to punish you, but to polish you. He removes distractions. He stretches your patience. He teaches you how to love in a way that is less selfish, more sacred, less about attachment, more about alignment. And when you begin to feel that peace, that stillness that says, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm becoming who I need to be, you'll realize something beautiful. You don't just want someone to love you. You want someone who brings you closer to Allah. You want a love that doesn't just feel good. You want a love that does good. A love that wakes you up for Fajr. A love that encourages you to fast on Mondays. A love that reminds you, Jannah is our goal, and I'll walk that path with you, not distract you from it. And for that kind of love, you're willing to wait. You're willing to grow. You're willing to say, Ya Allah, I want this love to make me better, not weaker. Because you're no longer obsessed with getting someone. You're focused on becoming someone. Someone who is calm, clear, and committed to their faith. Someone who's ready to receive a love that is written, not rushed. Someone who trusts that when the time is right, Allah won't just bring you someone, He'll bring you the right one. When you're ready, when it's time, and when your heart is no longer looking to be filled by a person, but already filled by your Lord. And that's when you'll know this love was never just about them. It was about you becoming. It was about you returning. It was about you coming closer to Allah through the language of love. 5. You pray for their goodness, even if it's not with you. This is where love becomes something more than a feeling, more than longing, more than dreams. This is where love transforms into an act of worship. Because when your love for someone is from the lower self, from your nafs, it's easy to get attached to the outcome. You cling to what you want. You pray with a hidden condition, Ya Allah, give me this, or I'll be broken. And sometimes, without meaning to, your dua becomes a demand. Your love becomes a transaction, and your heart becomes restless, constantly waiting to receive, not realizing that maybe this love was never meant to be kept. But when your love is from Allah, something deeper awakens in you. You start to realize, this person is not mine to own. They are a soul, just like me, created by Allah, guided by Him, written by Him. And the more you love them, the more you start loving what's best for them, even if that best isn't you. That's when your dua changes, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You stop saying, Ya Allah, make them mine at all costs. And you start whispering with sincerity, Ya Allah, if this person is written for me, then bring us together in a way that is beautiful, blessed, and halal. But if they are not, then give them peace, give them light, and protect their heart, even if that peace is found far away from me. That kind of love doesn't come from infatuation. It comes from Iman, from knowing that you love someone, but you love Allah more, and you trust Him to write the best story, even if it looks nothing like the one you imagined. That shift, that's not easy. It takes tears. It takes struggle. It takes laying your heart on the prayer mat and saying, Ya Allah, I surrender this to you, because I trust that your no is never rejection, just redirection. And yes, some days your heart will ache. You'll see them happy without you. You'll hear their name and feel that sting in your chest. You'll wonder, why did I feel so much if it was never meant to be? But slowly, you begin to see that love didn't come to break you. It came to build you. It came to teach you how to love beyond your ego, how to pray with a soft heart and open hands, how to love someone without needing to have them. And there's something incredibly beautiful about that, because most people only know how to pray when there's hope of getting what they want. But when you reach the point of praying for someone's goodness, even if that goodness doesn't include you, you've reached a rare kind of love, a selfless love, a love that's rooted in taqwa, not possession, a love that proves this was never about just being together. This was about being sincere. And maybe you'll never meet again. Maybe they'll marry someone else. Maybe your paths will never cross again in this world. But somewhere in the unseen, your dua still touches them. Your prayer still opens doors in their life. Your care, your sincerity, it still reaches them in ways they'll never know. And maybe that was your purpose, not to be the love of their life, but the love that quietly prayed for their soul when they needed it most. Not to stand beside them, but to stand behind them in prayer, even when they were gone. And that's not a loss. That's legacy. That's love, matured by faith and freed from attachment. So if you've ever loved like that, and walked away with trembling hands and tearful eyes, don't ever think you failed. You did something rare. You loved for Allah's sake. You chose dua over desperation. You chose grace over control. You chose His will over your own wish. And Allah saw that. Every prayer, every tear, every time you held your tongue instead of confessing your feelings. Every night you whispered their name into a prayer instead of a message. He saw it all, and He never lets love like that go to waste. Because even if they weren't meant to stay, they still led you closer to Him, and that means they fulfilled their purpose in your life. Not as a partner, but as a path that didn't lead you to a person, but to peace. A path that didn't end with happily ever after, but with something even better. Alhamdulillah, I loved, I let go, I grew, and I found my Lord through it all. Love is a test, but sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's not the storm that shakes your heart. It's the light that quietly enters it. Sometimes love isn't here to distract you. It's here to direct you, because Allah doesn't always wake us up with hardship. Sometimes He wakes us up with love, with longing, with a feeling that reaches deep into your soul and whispers, there is something more for you, but you must come back to me first. Not every emotion is a trap. Not every connection is a mistake. Sometimes the connection is the key, the invitation, the beginning of a new chapter in your faith. Because here's the truth. Some people are not sent to stay. They're sent to shift something inside of you. They are mirrors, not destinations. And when you look into that mirror, You start to see the parts of yourself you've been ignoring, the parts that crave attention more than connection, the parts that want love but aren't ready to protect it, the parts that claim to trust Allah but still grip tightly to what He hasn't written yet. And when love comes with that kind of clarity, you realize it's not always about them. It's about you and Him. You begin to ask yourself, who am I becoming in this love? Is my heart becoming softer or harder? Am I growing closer to who I'm meant to be, or further from who I was created to worship? Because when love is from your nafs, it rushes, it clings, it wants to be fed. Now, it's loud and restless. It's full of fear, full of questions, full of pressure. Why don't they feel the same? How can I make this happen? What if I lose them? But when the love is from Allah, it doesn't rush you. It settles you. It quiets you. It teaches you to pause and pray before you pursue. It teaches you to surrender, not chase. To purify, not possess. You no longer say, Ya Allah, give me this person no matter what. You say, Ya Allah, guide me to what is best, even if it's not what I want right now. And that kind of surrender, that love that bows instead of begs, it begins to heal you, even in the longing, even in the silence, even in the ache. Because now your dua isn't about control, it's about closeness. You find yourself crying, not because they walked away, but because you feel your heart returning to its Lord. And suddenly, that feels more important than any reply, any message, any outcome. Sometimes, Allah doesn't give you the relationship. He gives you the feeling, so that through it, you repair your relationship with Him, because that love, even if unspoken, even if unreturned, became a door, a sacred one. The kind that doesn't lead to someone else's heart, but back to your own, back to your fitrah, back to your soul's original state, pure, surrendered, devoted. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be grateful for. Because love that brings you to sajda is never a waste. Tears that fall in prayer are never weakness. Yearning that brings you closer to Allah is not a failure. It's a gift. A painful one maybe, but still a gift. So if today you're holding love in your heart and you don't know where it will lead, start by asking this: what is this love doing to my soul? Is it pulling you toward the dunya or pushing you toward Jannah? Is it making you anxious or is it making you aware? Is it taking over your identity or returning you to your purpose? Because the real measure of love is not how badly you want someone, it's what that want is doing to your worship. And when you reach a point where you can say, Ya Allah, I wanted them, but I want you more, that's when the love becomes sacred. Not because it ended in marriage, not because it turned into a fairy tale, but because it turned you into someone more faithful, more humble, more sincere. And that kind of love, that kind of inner transformation, it will be rewarded, even if not in this world, then in the next. Because nothing is wasted with Allah. Not your silence, not your patience, not your longing, not your heartbreak. He sees all, He holds all, and He will replace it all in ways you can't imagine. So maybe this love wasn't meant to be the ending. Maybe it was meant to be the beginning of your return, of your healing, of your closeness to the one who never left. And that is not just a test. It's mercy. It's awakening. It's a divine reminder that sometimes the greatest love story is not between two people, but between a servant and their Lord. May Allah guide our hearts, not just to love, but to a love that lifts us closer to Him, a love that purifies, not poisons, that steadies our soul instead of stirring our doubts. May He grant us a love that begins in dua and ends in jannah, a love that teaches us sabr before it brings us sweetness, that calls us to prayer before it calls us to passion, that doesn't distract us from our path, but deepens our walk toward Him. May He protect our intentions from being stained by ego, our glances from lingering where our names aren't written, and our desires from choosing what feels good over what is good. Because the truest kind of love isn't found in fleeting butterflies or anxious overthinking, or chasing after someone who doesn't return your dua. True love is found in stillness, in surrender, in the ache of patience and the quiet whisper, Ya Allah, if it's good, bring it close. If it's not, protect me from it and from myself. And if you're holding on to hope right now, if you're praying for clarity, for peace, for a sign, this is it. If it's from Allah, it will not confuse you. It will not tempt you into disobedience, and it will never require you to beg for love that was never yours to hold. What's from Allah doesn't rush in through the back door. It comes with light, with honor, with ease in the heart, even when the road is long. So may He soften what needs softening in us. May He remove what needs removing, and may He replace it not just with someone who loves us, but with someone who brings us closer to the one who always has. And if that means waiting, let us wait with grace. If it means letting go, let us release with dignity. If it means walking alone for a while, let us walk in worship, never in regret. Because this life is short, but love that is written by the most merciful, that kind of love lasts forever. So if this brought even a drop of peace to your heart, share it with someone whose silence is hiding a storm. You never know, your reminder might be their rescue. And follow for more words that don't just touch the mind, but speak to the soul, inshallah. And always remember, Allah sees your love. He hears your prayers, and He never lets a heart that chooses Him go unanswered.